Sometimes the battle at the bottom
Overhaul
is just as critical as the one at the top.
While the likes of Sawblaze and Huge were fighting for the giant nut, these bots were fighting for their television lives.
Because in World Championship VII, there were many hints that some bots were at risk of dropping out of the top 50.
proving he deserves to be invited back next season.
It was win now or go home next year. So here's a list of the 13 bots most at risk of a figurative relegation from BattleBots.
And one reason why they might be safe.
That means the season and maybe career is over.
It's Fusion!
We're starting off bold with this list with Team Waiachi's troublesome spinner. Fusion has already had to fight for its spot after BattleBots was against its return for the 2022 season, but ultimately it did return, splitting its first two matches in a pair of instant classics.
This is the most impressive version of Fusion we've seen.
But right when it seemed like Fusion had turned a corner, his gremlins returned, succumbing to 3 consecutive knockout defeats, 2 of which were under a minute. So having already been in the firing line, a 1-4 season only heaves more pressure onto the spot. So what's their pitch? A new design for Fusion has been discussed recently in the team's YouTube live streams. We know there's been some debate on what the new design should be, so we'll see what they come up with.
It's not Fusion. There's not 2 weapons.
It's gay. It's gay, that's what it is.
But whatever it is, it'll likely pique production's interest. After all, it's a chance for more random Reese comments.
Huge is a big gangly son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
I would have liked to go longer than 10 seconds. Wait a minute, where have I heard that before?
It's Triton!
Sideways Deep 6 comes in at number 11 after a 2-2 rookie season. When it worked, it helped fill the void left by Tombstone this year. But when it didn't work, it was a catastrophe. New bots always have growing pains, and overall, Triton showed quite a few flashes of brilliance in its first year. But here's one random thought. What if Tombstone comes back next year, and spots are limited? Would Triton's fate be up in the air because it's too similar in design to the former champ? We'll find out if those flashes of brilliance can become Fight of the Year candidates, or reminders of what could have been.
But I like where they're headed. Maybe next year.
It's Overhaul!
So, looking broadly at Overhaul, he went 1-3 this past season, taking his career total to an absolutely miserable 4-14. While those numbers make for tough reading, his recent performances add important context. Of his 3 defeats in 2022, 2 were valiant efforts against high-flying Claw Viper and a Cobalt machine he was a heavy underdog against. And his defeat to ShreditBro had a hint of controversy to it, as Overhaul showed some dominant periods of control before losing partial drive. On another day, Overhaul could have been 2-2 or even 3-1, but are those valiant defeats enough to earn him another season?
It's Kraken!
Kraken is another bot posting poor numbers, with a career record of 6-21. Perhaps more worrying is the fact that they're winless in the last 2 seasons.
While the hammer saws looked awfully good, everything else about this new bot hasn't.
Their new spinner design simply did not work. But they're still a fan favorite, and this 0-4 season comes after they tried something new. So, would BattleBots be willing to give them another season to work out the kinks?
We and the fans can't wait to see what they'll have for us next year.
It's free shipping!
Free shipping debuted in 2018 as a funny forklift, but has since evolved into well, not a forklift. And after another lackluster 1-win season, it begs the question, what does this bot bring to the table now that it's lost its gimmick and hasn't performed the best?
Free shipping is always chaos.
Well, Gary Jin will always be welcome, considering he's a legend of the sport.
This sport needs Gary Jin. I don't care if they go 1-3 every year.
And there's also a brownie point for having a flamethrower that could get gloriously sniped at any given moment.
It's
Gruff is another bot that has slowly been declining over the last couple seasons. Once considered an unkillable tank, 5 of their last 6 defeats over the last 2 seasons have been via knockout. Perhaps the writing is on the wall for a new design, which would surely interest production. But would they also throw them a bone knowing they've given Gruff consistently difficult opponents? All 4 of Gruff's World Championship VII opponents made the bracket, 2 of which were in the top 6. And the year before, they were given 2 more high-tier bots in Hydra and Cobalt. anyone would struggle to win consistently if this was the level of their opposition on a regular basis.
Verizon was a rather wacky design that caught the eye early, but didn't earn resounding success. The bot went 1-3 in its rookie season, scoring an impressive win against Shatter, but that was the only bright spot in an otherwise disappointing campaign. Usually, unique bots like Horizon need a couple seasons to work out the kinks and refine the design.
But it can take time to figure out what works at 250 pounds.
But it's clear that the extra time will have to come from proving grounds first, before they get another shot on the big stage. Let's hope they make good use of this opportunity.
It's Banshee!
The flipper design appears to be a dying breed, which is why Banshee's presence in World Championship VII was so welcomed. Unfortunately, they finished with a 1-3 record, with the lone win coming against Valkyrie. While that was a win that could have been built off of, Banshee did anything but. Their flipper hardly worked, and a couple of their losses were by some distance. Recently, the team has appeared at proving grounds to show off improvements, but they'll need to show they've made big strides in order to stay amongst the elite.
It's ominous!
We're starting to get to the names that will really be sweating over their spots here. Ominous was an exciting prospect that simply didn't pan out well. The season was full of growing pains as they slumped to a 1-3 finish where they didn't really beat ShreditBro, they just lost less.
Ominous, sweep the leg! Sweep the leg!
One bonus to Ominous is that they are an Omni-Wheel bot, which allows production to choose another vertical spinner that has just enough uniqueness to be justified. But one drawback is that they're a foreign team. With very limited spots for non-American teams, there's even more pressure to perform, knowing there's a host of other teams ready to answer the call.
It's Starchild!
Another unique design that came, saw, but didn't conquer was P1's replacement Starchild. We talked about new designs needing some instant success when mentioning Horizon, but unlike them, Starchild couldn't even muster up one victory. We also talked about how Kraken's fan favorite status could help them mask their poor season, but Starchild doesn't have that factor either. Their only saving grace may be the one others can claim. It's a new design that needs more time to be perfected. But if everyone starts calling for that, how many of their calls can be answered? Would a new and improved P1 be a more plausible move?
It's time to start wondering whether or not this is a viable design at 250 pounds.
It's Hijinx!
While some bots on the list are here because of poor record, Hijinx is not. Their career total is now 6-9. Nice. Well, what's more concerning to the team is their strength of schedule during their career, with wins in 2020 coming against Tracer, Chomp, and Slammo, and in 2021, Sub-Zero and Kraken.
So to move up and really get the respect, Hijinx needs some big wins this year.
World Championship VII was their worst season yet, going 1-3 in Fight Night with the lone victory coming against Big Dill. At what point should production consider replacing a bot that's been mediocre with someone that has a higher ceiling? In Hijinx's defense, they do win more fights than others, and sometimes they lose gloriously.
ShreditBro!
Formerly known as Pain Train, ShreditBro finished World Championship VII with a 2-2 record, which is better than most of the bots on this list until you add some context. One of those wins was a snoozer against Horizon, and the other was an arguably controversial decision against Overhaul.
These final two fights aren't necessarily about making the tournament, but rather proving he deserves to be invited back next season.
On top of that, in previous years, Pain Train offered no positive memorable moments, going 1-6 in its 2 seasons. So with fight history and performances going against him, what does this bot have to offer?
This might be Evan's last gasp here at BattleBots.
Well, this season we finally saw flashes of its potential. The hits ShreditBro got in its wins were more than anything Pain Train could do, which is a sign that the team is slowly figuring it out. The only question is, how much more time do they have?
It's Captain Shredderator!
The final bot on our list is a 7-season staple of modern BattleBots, but it also holds a history of hardship. Captain Shredderator is notorious for random mechanical failures and finding new ways to lose from winning positions. Their dismal 7-19 career record is one to forget, with wins against low-tier opposition like Jaeger, Sharkoprian, and Vanquish. So, what actually keeps them around? Well, the team behind the bot is one of pedigree, having won a giant nut before, and the name, theme, and paint scheme is one appeals strongly to an important viewer demographic. But also, the team has announced for the first time in roughly 20 years, major design changes are in store for the robot. This redesign could be crucial for confirming a spot in World Championship VIII, so I can't wait to see what the team actually comes up with.
That means the season and maybe career is over for Brian Nave's bot.
Of course, this list is subject to change, as all of this discussion is happening before the second Golden Bolt tournament airs on Discovery.
Most of these bots will be competing in that, which means there's still time to prove to the selection committee that they belong.
But not everyone can win the trophy, let alone win 1 to 2 fights.
Which means that this upcoming tournament could mean the difference between safety or suffering. Their total is now 6 and 9.
It just continues.
We should leave this in. We should leave this bit in, this entire bit.
It's just Beavis and Butthead style laugh.
Yes, yeah, that...
They said 69.